And we're live. Good morning, everybody. This is Fred Bergeron, and today I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Autumn Hope Johnson. She is a fellow homeless advocate, such as myself, and she's been on 60 Minutes and CBS this morning. So please give a warm welcome for my friend and fellow homeless advocate, Autumn Hope Johnson. Hi,
Hey
Autumn.
everyone. Hey, how are you?
Good, good. Well, you're looking good
Good.
today.
Thanks. Early riser? Maybe?
Yeah,
Probably
yeah,
not.
I guess you could say. So, tell the audience before we go into your story and your celebrity status. Why don't you tell everybody? Why don't you tell everybody how we met, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So I met Fred last year. I met him last year through the Homelessness and Poverty Conference that Stetson University holds. That's run by Professor Shankar Brown. She has been my mentor and kind of like my little advocate of how to speak, how to properly advocate for homeless children, and kind of navigate that direction to be able to gear myself into um, future talks, future interviews, stuff like that. But she has just been played a huge part in my role in my life, and she introduced me to Fred, and we've just kind of been buddies ever since.
Yep, and I remember you said after we parted ways that day, you said let's change the world together. So hopefully
Yes,
hopefully we can do that because you have a story to tell, I have a story to tell, and as you told me at one of my seminars, everyone's got a story to tell. It's just it doesn't matter what level it's at. So I like
absolutely.
when you said that. Now I have to say this, Autumn. I love not just your whole name, but your middle name. Was that was that was that planned? Does that have anything to do with your current situation or what?
Um, it was from divine intervention. Honestly, my mother, my adoptive mother, she she felt that it was time for me to move on from my old life and to start opening up to something new. And when I met my adoptive family, they saw how low I was and how I hit that low really hard, and I didn't have hope for the future. I didn't have hope in myself or in humanity. And they say when you hit rock bottom, the only place to look is up, but you've got to be encouraged and have hope to be able to even do that. And my parents saw that, and I think that played a lot into being able to get that middle name of hope, and because that's a constant reminder that that's what I need in my life, and that's what other people need in their lives as well.
Yeah, man, I figured there was some kind of meaning behind it, and I liked it.
Oh,
So tell us
definitely.
about your story about being homeless and how you got to be on 60 Minutes and then later on CBS this morning.
Okay, so most of my life we had lived without power, without water, sometimes both at a time. That was back when I lived with my biological dad and my biological brother, and that was I wouldn't say easy compared to being homeless. It was definitely a challenge. A lot of struggle went into doing that kind of lifestyle, but there was just one day the checks stopped coming, and my dad had hit a whole all-time low as well. He was very depressed. He couldn't find work. Work wasn't available for handymen back when the recession hit, and so a lot of that pressure had fallen on me. But I had school, I had extracurricular activities. There really wasn't all that much I could do. I did as much as I could. He did what he could, but next thing you know, we have this giant yellow beach box truck in our driveway. And um, once I finally knew, once he told us, we have to say goodbye to our home, that's kind of when it clicked for me, where I was like, okay, we have to be on the road for a little while. I don't know what we're gonna do, and but we're just gonna embrace this. We're just gonna embrace it because it's not where we're gonna be for the rest of our lives. And I determined that I'm not gonna live this way forever. If I have to now, fine, I'll make that sacrifice. But you got to keep moving forward. And so, actually, before we ended up having to officially move out of the house, I was sleeping in the beach truck at nights, trying to get used to it, trying to say, okay, well, what is it going to be like living in this thing? But then we ended up packing and we ended up saying goodbye to our home. We would stay at various locations, parking lots of all sorts, YMCA's. We stayed at libraries and the back of restaurants. Sometimes a friend would let us stay with them, but ultimately it was just, you got to be clever and you got to be smart about like where you're going to stay and what restaurants or what gas stations will accept you more than others, and you just really learn a lot about people and expectations in that. Um, but you also learn, where your friends are too. Those who are really with you and who are going to support you. They may not be able to do anything about your situation, but they're there, and that's all that matters. Um, well, from there, we were offered a home in Sanford for about 2 years, but my dad had fallen into some addictions that really escalated, and it caused us to lose that home, and we're in an RV at that point again. Not a box truck, thank goodness, but the RV. And but we were back in a position that we didn't really want to be in, and it you could tell it was really taking a toll on the family, not only on myself and my education, but on my father and my brother, and not having that space to just kind of separate and have our own little lives as well. But overall, it was difficult. It was hard on the family structure. And then I entered foster care.
Yeah, and I noticed on a small clip on that. I
Mm-hmm.
think you or your brother was talking about how you were kind of embarrassed to tell your friends that you were homeless, but later on they figured it out. So I can kind
Mm-hmm.
of I can kind of imagine that. But also it alluded to you got a scholarship to Stetson. So how did that come to be? Did you run into somebody like Dr. Brown who saw your potential? How did that happen?
I didn't run into Dr. Brown specifically, but when I was put on 60 Minutes back in 2011, the show aired because what happened was we were staying in a Lake Mary, yeah, the Lake Mary YMCA, and bless their hearts, they were looking out for us. They had called DCF, and out of fear of losing my family of what I did have, I I didn't want to be put in the system because there's so many um, stigmas towards foster care in the system and stuff like that. But that's another story.
Mhm.
So we ended up meeting one of the agents, and she said, hey, we work with Scott Pelley 60 Minutes, and we're doing this update on families living in their vehicles. Would you like to be a part of it? Out of fear, I said yes, but I thank the Lord today that I did because it's changed my life and for the better. So once the 60 Minutes show aired, there's one little clip in there where you can see me wearing a Stetson University t-shirt. It's like one of their baseball t-shirts or whatnot. And I didn't go to Stetson. I didn't know about Stetson. I just picked up the shirt from a food pantry in Sanford because that's just where I had to get my clothes. And I'm so thankful I did. Well, the crew for 60 Minutes ended up coming to my school that day, and I didn't know. They didn't inform us. So I didn't have a change of clothes, and we're not allowed to wear logos or whatnot. And they're like, oh, well, we'll just do it this one time. It'll be okay. And then next thing you know, we've got a call from Stetson University. Whether it was directly from Stetson or through 60 Minutes is a little fuzzy now. It's been so long. But they wanted to meet with us. The president of Stetson University wanted to meet with us, and it was so exciting. But the only way that happened was through people like Professor Shankar Brown. Like, the heart that she has for children and for individuals and for the poverty stricken, her and so many others directly affected my life because they mass emailed her saying, hey, we see potential and we want to help these kids. How can we do that? And so she reached out, and that's how she gave us our full full scholarship. And it was wonderful. It was such a wonderful time. I kind of miss it.
Well,
Like
yeah,
now that I'm out of school, I'm like, what do I do with my life?
yeah. Well, it sounds like not only did they have a game plan for you for the scholarship, but a game plan for being homeless and I guess helping other troubled
It
students
did.
or young adults. I guess would be another word I was looking for, and I guess you fit the mold real good there with that. So something else I noticed on that 60 Minutes episode is you and your brother had different name on that show. So you mind telling us? It's kind of funny because both, you stuck with one A name and went to another, but you kind of want to tell us on how you about the name change.
Yeah, so like I had mentioned briefly, I did go into foster care back in 2014, 2013. And it just got to a point with my father that he just couldn't take care of us the way that we needed to be taken care of. And um, he ultimately just we had to say goodbye and part our ways. And um, as sad as that is, it's also such a blessing because I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't have the life I have now. My life would look totally different, and I know that. Um, and so I bounced around a few different homes. I think I have about four different homes before I finally ran into the Johnsons, and it came down to, hey, do you want to be in a group home or do you want to go with this family? And I mean, my brother and I were just in tears. Um, we didn't really know what to do, and like I said, we had this stigma about foster care. We were able to stay with friends for so long that like now to actually go to a foster home, what's that going to look like for us? Well, we ended up meeting them beforehand, the parents, and they were super sweet. We met the eldest daughter and just kind of slowly eased us into a 10 family or 10 member family. And I'm like, well, what are you guys doing? And so after a while of being with them, we moved in January 3rd. No, we found out January 3rd, moved in January 4th. And it's been a journey ever since. It's been wonderful. And adoption wasn't talked about right away. They just really wanted to get to know us, feel us out for who we were. February 2nd, I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior, and my life began to change in a spiritual manner as well as a physical one because I'm able to now have that hope of a new
Mhm.
life that I can start over. I don't have to live in my past, but I can live in my new identity in Christ. And with that, at least my version of the story, with that, my I feel like my parents saw that and wanted to offer that even more and be able to be that provider and watch me live out my story on a more personal level. And that's kind of around the time when adoption started coming up in our conversations, like, hey, what would you think about this? And I just remember mom and dad pulling me aside into their bedroom, sitting on their bed, those talks you have with your parents. And they just asked me and they said, would you like us to adopt you? And at the time, you're still growing or whatnot. And I was like, well, I know Aaron needs a place to live. His name was Austin at the time. I was like, well, I know he needs a place to live and I'm about to go to college. So, yeah, let me do this for him. And it slowly over time became something that I wanted because I saw the love and care that they had for me and for my other siblings as well. And I was just so drawn to that. And next thing you know, we're talking, okay, let's change names. And I was like, I don't know about this. I like my name and my identity. But over time, I was able to see, okay, I see why you wanted to do this. It's that cutting off and that bringing of a new life. And that's autumn. That's what it does. It gets rid of the old and prepares for the new. Hope is looking forward to the new, and Johnson is Johnson. It took me a while to get used to it, but yeah, I mean, and then Aaron is Aaron. he uh, he enjoys his name as well. It's very special to him.
So it was like the ending of that was the what's the word I'm looking for? That was the closure or the clarification for the end of Ariel and Aaron Metzger, or excuse me, Austin Metzger, and then moving into Autumn and Aaron Johnson.
It's a whole new chapter. It's not even a chapter. It's a whole new book.
Yes, yes, I see that. So, how were you able to overcome the homelessness and and the abuse? I mean, I'm sure that probably took some time. I'm sure it didn't happen overnight. So, how were you able to overcome that, Autumn?
Well, once I started to look up again and I started to have the proper guidance in the right direction of, how to properly heal, I would read books on like what Jesus would do and what other people have gone through the same um, the same poverty, homelessness, abuse, or whatnot that I've gone through. And by being able to see what they've done, I've been able to take tidbits of what they've done to overcome. But ultimately, it's choosing to forgive. That doesn't mean you have to have a relationship with a person, but it's choosing to forgive, because bitterness is just a poison. It's just, if you keep holding on to it, what good is that going to do for you? You're going to constantly remember the bad times. You're going to have anxiety. You're going to go through depression. And for me, it was a choice of just letting go. It kind of happens, you know, I'm 23 years old. And yes, I'm still young, but I am 23 years old. And that abuse, that hurt will never go away. But it's a choice to always give it up to Christ. It's a choice just to give it up in general, because holding on to it, I find myself so sad and so depressed, and I don't want to live that way. My time here on earth is short. There's so much more to live for, and so I choose to forgive. I choose to be happy and to keep moving forward. It's a choice you have to make, and you
Yeah,
have to surround yourself with the people who are going to support you on that.
yeah, and I kind of took that road too. I was like, I'm tired of living like this, so I know the feeling. But another question on top of that, Autumn, is I'm sure you've run across homeless people as well, whether people have seen you on TV or just in general. What is your approach to helping the homeless? Like if you run across a homeless person, how do you deal with that person? Because I know obviously you're not stereotyping them, but how
Of
do you
course, of
see,
course.
you're on the opposite end now. So kind of how is your reaction when you see someone that was in your shoes?
You can't just go up and assume that they're one person. You honestly can't. I've met so many homeless individuals that have specific needs and specific desires and specific goals. You can't categorize and make one path for a single individual. That's why my advice is just always so broad. It's focus on your education, focus on the big things. But the more specific path that you take is up to you. It's up to your needs, your desires, your wishes, because I'm not going to give a 34-year-old man the same advice I'm going to give a 14-year-old girl. There's just different paths. For the girl, I'm going to say focus on your education, because that's what's important. And I know it's hard being on the streets, but I'm also learning to now that there are some roads that you have to take, whether that's entering into foster care and doing things a certain way. um, as much as it's a go get all, in my opinion, there's also a right way to do things, and I'm learning that now. That's why I'm going to school. That's why I'm going to law school, because there is a correct way, but there's different paths, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes. So let me ask you this. You heard me talk about it in my presentation when we met. Um, and just personally, I just think this gives homeless people, past and present, a bad name. What do you think about this whole panhandling thing that's being a problem in Florida?
I have mixed feelings and opinions about that, because um, oh gosh, I just have mixed feelings about it, and I'm not trying to offend anyone. I know for some people that's all they can do right now, um, but it's the people who rely on that and aren't willing to move forward and do something else. I get some people are stuck, and that's all they can do, because as a sociology major, I see that the world has this way of keeping people where they are in society, and that it is difficult to climb that ladder. To be able to go get a job, you have to take a shower, you have to shave, you have to do so many different things just to get into the office to have an interview. But if you're homeless, you don't have access to those things, and there aren't a lot of locations and organizations that offer showers and being able to shave and haircuts and to clean up before that. So I think it's, you know, eh, the resort to panhandling is, let me do this to go take a shower at a hotel or whatever, so I can go do this interview and see if I can get a job and manage. But again, like, you're in a position where you're almost set up to fail, and without the proper help, without being willing to drop the pride without the ability to see that you need the help and ask for help, you're not going to get very far. And so it's the need of more organizations and more people who are actually willing to care to reach out to these individuals and get help.
Yeah, I feel the
Panhandling
same. Yeah,
is
yeah,
such a complex thing in and of itself.
yeah. I feel the same way that you know there should be no stereotypes, no casting of any stones or anything like that. Because like yourself and myself, we didn't choose that lifestyle. We didn't choose to be homeless. You know, and
Exactly.
and I think we've both done a good job with the help of some of our friends to kind of change the perspective of that. And that's why I have you on my show, and hopefully we can start advocating together because you know we we want people to see a different perspective of homelessness. Like I was in the
Yeah.
military, I had 2 college degrees. I was homeless because I, like you and several other people, wasn't prepared for it. You don't prepare yourself for homelessness. You prepare
Oh.
yourself for a hurricane, you know, or
Exactly.
bad weather. You don't ever prepare yourself for homelessness. So and that's why I'm glad to have you on my show. And to
Thank
lead to
you.
my next question is, what type of advocating do you do for the homeless besides just like speaking at Stetson and these other places? What else do you do?
Well, there's various interviews that I do here and there, like your show, CBS, on TV. I try to speak out publicly as much as possible because it's so much more than just trying to be in our community. You have to, like I said, we have to change the world and their thinking. That's that's what's you know going to change the world is the people and how they think. It takes a lot of people to be able to make a difference. Like one person can stand up and say something, but they've got to get the support of others to be able to show. I mean, that's that's the key is numbers, and that's what's important. Um, Personally, I want to get into organizations that are doing more. I love being a part of boards. I love being a part of the background, the idea making, and the grants and all of that. But for me, I love being able to get down and like in the dirt, like let's put boots on the ground. Like that's what I love because you can talk all you want, but you got to get out there, you got to do it. And so um, I want to get more involved one on one with these individuals to show them, you know, you don't have to stay in this position. So I definitely want to do more out talks, more ideas, brainstorming. But I want to get more hands on than I have been because when I was in Stetson, I would make these little hygiene packages to be able to hand out to an individual when I saw them, and and that's amazing, that's great, but you got to get behind someone to be able to actually get that into motion, if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
it's getting behind an organization and being the hands and the feet of that organization.
Yeah. Now on the CBS This Morning episode, that was like a "Where are you now?" type thing. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
where Autumn was when she was Ariel on 60 Minutes, and then the CBS This Morning was kind of an after. Where is she now? So tell us how they managed to come to you on that. Did they see your story on 60 Minutes and then want you to kind of tell everybody where you are now?
No, so actually, it was really cool. Dr. Shankar Brown was introduced to me by my former um, guidance counselor, Dr. Grady, and he introduced us. He said, "Hey, like I know this is your story," because I told him a little bit about myself or whatnot and how I just needed some help, obviously with my academics. And like he wanted to know, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, this is what I want to do. And he's like, well, why? And I said, well, because I was on 60 Minutes, I went through this, that, and the other thing. And he goes, you need to meet this person. And so I met Dr. Shankar Brown, and she invited me to speak. Well, first she just invited me to attend the Poverty and Homelessness Conference, just to kind of get a feel of like what she does. And then she offered if I wanted to speak. And this was my junior year. And I was like, well, I don't see why not. she's given me this opportunity, and I don't like to pass up opportunities if it's going to help other people. And so I talked to my parents, prayed through it, and we decided, yeah, this is something that I need to do. Not only for other people to know where I am, but also for other people just to see the hope and that the positivity in humanity and what we're trying to do. And so I ended up speaking, and then um, the media department just kind of like pulled me aside and they said, hey, like, I'm really glad that you're doing this. How do you want us to help you if people start, wanting to talk to you? Do you want us to direct them to you? Do you want us to filter them? Do you want us to just protect you? How do you want us to help you and protect you? And I said, if you want to, if anyone happens to say anything, just let me know. And it was kind of cold after a while. I was like, oh, well, maybe people didn't care. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter because I knew that the people that were there, they needed to hear it. And that was very evident, that.
Hmm.
And so I think they had mentioned it before in my junior year that CBS wanted to do something with me, and but they wanted to wait till my senior year, toward more closer towards graduation. And I said, okay, that's absolutely fine. And so I had totally forgot about it. Senior research kind of took my attention away from everything, kind of stopped my life for a while. And so it was closer towards the end of my senior year when they reminded me, hey, we're still here and we wanted to do this. And I was like, oh, okay, absolutely. And so they heard it from the Homelessness and Poverty Conference, and then we just kind of went from there.
Okay, well that's very cool. And um, with some current events going on, this whole coronavirus going on, I'm going to kind of segue to that. Is how has this affected you, Autumn Hope Johnson, as a whole, and how have you been able to adapt to it?
Well, on the funny side, it really hasn't changed my life too much because I found out that I don't go out and I don't do things anyway, so nothing really changed in that aspect. I'm still home watching Netflix, doing
Okay,
schoolwork and being with family. But it has affected me. It's affected my decisions on where to go, wearing my mask, sanitizing, stuff like that, because my brother, one of my adopted brothers, not Aaron, has cystic fibrosis. And so my awareness for his health concerns and for others as well um, has really, really skyrocketed. And so I'm extra careful. I'm extra aware. If I go out, if I want to go get a soda from Racetrack, I'm extra careful because I couldn't. I lost a brother already. I don't want to lose another one, especially if it's something that I could have prevented. And so my awareness for that has skyrocketed. Um, it's allowed me to realize that there are other areas of advocacy that I'd like to explore, not just homelessness, but a little bit in health, but also in human trafficking and sexual abuse. Just some other areas that that really are important and kind of connect in a sense. And so that's something that I definitely wanted to that COVID has somewhat affected because it's allowed me to say, okay, well, what else needs help. And but it's also affected my wedding planning, and we've went from one date to another, and we finally settled, and it's affected our wedding party where they've lost jobs, and we wanted to be considerate of others, and so that's why we ended up moving our wedding date. And I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's affected it, and it's affected my friends and family that are close to me, and I'm seeing that here. I'm living it out, and I mean, it's hard, and I can't even imagine what other individuals are going through. I hear stories at work, well, this person with kids, and this whole system of how are we going to do school online, in person, and it just terrifies me for little kids to be getting this, to have that sickness, um and and for my brother who might be going to school, we're not like, we're trying to balance that. And but I see a lot of good coming out of COVID. It's kind of scary to say. I
Mhm.
see us, we're really uniting as a community and as a country. I see us just really uniting on this, and standing up for one another and protecting one another and such.
Well, and on that note, tell us about your engagement, or tell us about this special man in your life that you're about to marry in a few months. Like, how did you meet and all that?
Okay, so we he had just gotten out of a pretty serious relationship. I had just got out of a relationship. I don't know how serious it was because it was stupid. Anyway, so we had just both gotten out of relationships, and we were going to be volunteering at the Word of Life Bible Institute youth camp. And he was working security, and I was working in the bookstore, and we just loved this camp. And our families had gone to it before, so we've heard a lot of really good things about it. And we decided, we want this is something we want to do. We wanted to attend this school together, or not like together, but like we both wanted to attend the school and get the scholarships and learn more about our faith and how to defend our faith. And I mean, we're on like two different ends of the campuses. We never technically should have ever meted, kind of thing. But it was just really cool, really sweet. I knew right away when I saw him that he was the one, and I just kind of scoped him out, tested the waters, and obviously you got to get your sisters and your best friends to stalk him.
Right.
So over time, I kind of, hey, check out this guy or whatnot. But we met over the summer. We both devoted ourselves to following Jesus and not getting distracted by other people. Like I said, God, I don't want a boyfriend. And then halfway through the summer, he plops this boy in front of me, and I'm like, so he asked my dad if he could date me, and my dad said no. He said no. He said you have to wait till after college, and I was like, okay. So, but we've known each other for 5 years, and I told him I didn't want to get married till after Stetson because I wanted to focus on my education. That was what's important to me. And so it was December 24th of last year that he finally asked me to marry him. It's on YouTube. It's really precious. Um,
Okay.
he's crazy, but I love him to death, and he's treated me very well. He's been with me through my ups and downs, and he's really learning that I'm not like every other girl. And I don't mean that to be mean. It's just, I have specific issues and problems with myself that like other people don't go through. Not a lot of people, I don't know, like there's just different struggles that everyone goes through, and I'm just
Right.
different, I guess.
Right.
Everyone is. Everyone's unique, and everyone's special, and everyone's beautiful.
Yes, and
But
I
like
agree. Yeah.
you just got to learn on how to, if I'm having a PTSD moment, like you got to be able to know how I work compared to what someone else might be going through. You know what I mean?
Correct. Correct.
Everyone's
Now,
different.
yeah. Now to wrap it up,
But
any words of wisdom to tell the community out there, based on your experiences? Just throw the cards out there, Autumn.
oh gosh, there's just so much. Um, for kids, focus on your education. For adults, if you want your GED, go get it. You can do it. I believe in you. We all do. Um, there's no reason to be prideful. There's loads of people out there that want to help you, and there's different organizations that want to help you. It's uh, it's a matter of being able to just go ask. There's no shame in it. I had to learn that the hard way. I was trying to do things on my own, and once I was able to finally, go up to my mom and dad and say, "Hey, I need help," my life got easier. Um, for people in organizations, keep loving on them. Everyone's hurt, everyone's broken. They're not going to make the right choices all the time. And I don't make the right choices all the time, but like my parents are there for me, my family's there for me no matter what. I've been kind of mentoring a 14-year-old boy, and Does he make the right choices all the time? No, I don't expect him to. He's 14. He's what, middle school, high school, and so you know, teenagers are gonna be teenagers. You just got to show consistency and love and support. If we're gonna change the world, we've got to do it together. Like I said, there's power in number.
Mhm.
Gosh, there's just so much that we can do, so much potential. We just got to be willing to do it.
Okay. Well, I enjoyed having this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Autumn, I think this interview should make a difference in other people's lives. Thank you
I hope so.
for speaking up, and I will see you in a few at the next Stetson event, at the next homeless and poverty event.
Yes.
See you then. Bye
See you
bye.
later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.